Hello, my good audience, my good people, my fellow Americans, as well as those who happen to be in other countries. Welcome to my channel. This is my vlog channel. This is my YouTube channel, ASMR. I do skateboarding. I do, I'm experimenting with things, But that's not the point of today's video. I have mentioned this book before on my channel, but I have not actually. Let me turn my fan off because I kind of hear it. So, 1 second. Yes, like I was saying, I've mentioned this book before on my channel, but I don't think I've gotten a chance to really read it to you. That's what we'll be doing here today. This book is called The Essential Art of War by Sun Tzu. The Essential Art of War by Sun Tzu. I will just be reading now. Just a few chapters. I like this book because it dives into different topics such as growth and how to really expound when you have resources and when you lack resources, and what to do when you don't have the resources that are necessary for victory in a war, whether that be a war of verbatim with someone, with going word for word, going quote for quote, or the last possible resort, waging an actual war where, excuse me, if there's a war, people taking people's lives, there's that, there's much to be divulged, or much to go into, rather. Yes. In general, the method for employing the military is this: preserving the enemy's state capital is best. Destroying their state capital is second best. Preserving the army. Preserving their army is best. Destroying their army second best. Preserving their battalions is best. Preserving their companies is best. No, preserving their battalions is best. Destroying their battalions is second best. Preserving their companies is best. Destroying their companies second best. Preserving their squads is best. Destroying their squads is second best. For this reason, attaining 100 victories in 100 battles is not the pinnacle of excellence. Subjugating the enemy's army without fighting is the true pinnacle of excellence. Thus, the highest realization of warfare is to attack the enemy's plans. Next is to attack their alliances. Next to attack their army. And the lowest is to attack their fortified cities. tactic of attacking fortified cities is adopted only when unavoidable. Preparing large movable protective shields, armored assault wagon, and other equipment and devices will require 3 months. Building offensive earthworks will require another 3 months to complete. If the general cannot overcome his impatience, but instead launches an assault wherein his men swarm over the walls like ants, he will kill 1/3 of his officers and troops, and the city will not stand, and the city will still not be taken. This is the disaster that results from attacking fortified cities. That's like attacking someone who is well prepared. You cannot do that. Doing it hastily, especially. Thus, one who excels at employing the military subjugates other people's armies without engaging in battle, captures other people's fortified cities without attacking them, and destroys other people's states without prolonged fighting. He must fight under heaven with the paramount aim of preservation. Thus his weapons will not become dull, and the gains can be preserved. This is the strategy for planning offensives. I.e., plan ahead before you make the biggest leap in your life. Go ahead and plan the leap before you jump. In general, the strategy for employing the military is this. If your strength is 10 times theirs, surround them. If 5, then attack them. If double, then divide your forces. If you are equal in strength to the enemy, you can engage them. If fewer, then you can circumvent them. If outmatched, you can avoid them. A small enemy that acts inflexibly will become the captives of a large army. Of a large enemy, rather. The general is the supporting pillar of state. If his talents are all-encompassing, the state will invariably be strong. If the supporting pillar is marked by fissures or holes, if he has a hole in his defense and his strength, the state will invariably grow weak. There are 3 ways by which an army is put into difficulty by a ruler. He does not know that the 3 armies should not advance, but instructs them to advance, or does not know the 3 armies should not withdraw and order them to retreat. This is termed entangling the enemy. I can't say I like this slide. There we go. He does not understand the 3 armies' military affairs, but directs them in the same way as his civil administration. Then the officers will become confused. He does not understand the 3 armies' tactical balance of power, but undertakes responsibility for command. Then the officers will be doubtful. When the 3 armies are already confused and doubtful, the danger of the feudal lords taking advantage of the situation arises. This is referred to as a distressed, disordered army drawing another on to victory. Thus, there are 5 factors from which a victory can be known. Those who know when they can fight and when they cannot fight will be victorious. Those who recognize how to employ large and small numbers will be victorious. Those who recognize how to employ large and small numbers will be victorious. Those whose upper and lower ranks have the same desires will be victorious. Those who fully prepared await the unprepared will be victorious. Those whose generals are capable and not interfered with by the ruler will be victorious. Those who have the 5 Tao for a knowing victory. Thus it is said that in warfare, those who know the enemy and know themselves will not be endangered in 100 engagements. Those who do not know the enemy but know themselves will be victorious, sometimes meet with defeat. Those who know neither the enemy nor themselves will invariably be defeated in every engagement. The chapter's initial passages succinctly advance a view of offensive warfare constant with Sun Tzu's assertion that the victory should be swiftly achieved at minimal cost. Enemies should be subjugated by frustrating their plans, thwarting their preparations, or undermining their alliances, thereby augmenting the state and increasing its awesomeness. Thus, despite the historically attested Chinese practice of brutally resolving conflicts, the conclusion that attaining 100 victories in 100 battles is not the pinnacle of excellence. Subjugating the enemy's army without fighting is the true pinnacle of excellence. Not only become a well-known measure in appraising behavior, but also continues to be an essential principle of modern PRC doctrine. Moreover, attacking plans and alliances is crucial to the contemporary quest of thwarting irregular forces. Should combat become inevitable, commanders must still strive to minimize the destruction they inflict even as they decisively wrest victory, thereby maximizing the battlefield gains while preserving the infrastructure and diminishing potential enmity. Across the centuries, however, fighting with the aim of preservation generally remained a mere theorization, or the instance of creating theories. Instead, China repeatedly witnessed the vengeful destruction of entire cities, unimaginable carnage. Troops, civilians, and even prisoners were slaughtered in mass. The corollary to attacking planes is avoiding stupid assaults on fortified positions, because the ensconced defense usually enjoyed virtually insurmountable advantages. Despite the deliberate bombing of major cities during World War II, the idea that the lowest strategy is to attack fortified cities retains relevance, though it is generally, albeit incorrectly, interpreted. As an admonition to avoid combat on urban terrain, fraught with obstacles and danger for regular troops. The increasing complexities of spring and autumn warfare saw a shift from royally commanded ad hoc contingents to more professionally led standing armies. As rulers became more effete and estranged from the realities of combat, the dramatically different temperament and values appropriate to the civil and martial spheres inevitably endangered clashes between elite court members and brusque military specialists. Sun Tzu stridently decreed any interference with a field commander's power. The final pronouncement, another that affected the mindset and values of 100 generations, is a clear injunction to be as vigorous in self-scrutiny as in examining others, failing to be objective, to recognize weakness as well as strength when predicting enemy actions and probable combat results not only leads to error and delusion, but also to catastrophic failure. In antiquity, those who excelled in warfare must first made themselves unconquerable in order to await the moment when the enemy can be conquered. Being unconquerable lies within yourself, lies with yourself. Being conquerable lies with the enemy. Therefore, those who excel in warfare are able to make themselves unconquerable, but not necessarily to cause the enemy to be conquerable. Thus, it is said that a strategy for conquering the enemy can be known, but yet not possible to implement. Those who cannot be victorious assume a defensive posture. Those who can be victorious attack. In these circumstances, by assuming a defensive posture, strength will be more than adequate, whereas in offensive acquisitions it will be inadequate. Those who excel at defense bury themselves away below the lowest depths of earth. Those who excel at offense move from above the greatest heights of heaven. Thus, they are able to preserve themselves and attain complete victory. Perceiving a victory that does not surpass what the masses could know is not the pinnacle of excellence. Wresting victories for which all under heaven proclaim your excellence is not the pinnacle of excellence. Thus, lifting an autumn air cannot be considered great strength. Seeing the sun and moon cannot be considered acute vision. Hearing the sound of thunder cannot be considered having sensitive ears. Those that the ancestors referred to as excelling at warfare conquered those who were easy to conquer. Thus, the victories of those who excelled in warfare were not marked by fame or wisdom or courageous achievement. Thus, their victories were free from errors. One who is free from errors directs his measures towards certain victory, conquering those who are already defeated. Thus, those who excel at warfare first establish themselves in a position where they cannot be defeated while not losing any opportunity to defeat the enemy. For this reason, victorious armies first realize the conditions for victory, then seek to engage in battle. Vanquished armies first to fight, then seek victory. Those who excel at employing the military cultivate the Tao and preserve the laws. Therefore, they are able to be the regulators of victory and defeat. As for military methods, the first is termed measurement, the second, estimation of forces, the third, calculation of numbers of men, the fourth, weighing relative strength, and the fifth, victory. Terrain gives birth to measurement. Measurement produces estimation of forces. Estimation of forces gives rise to the calculating of numbers of men. Calculating the numbers of men gives rise to weighing strength. Weighing strength gives birth to victory. Thus, the victorious army is like a ton compared with an ounce, while the defeated army is like an ounce weighed against a ton. The combat of the victorious is like the sudden release of a pent-up torrent down 1,000-fathom gorge. This is the strategic disposition of force, ignoring the dubious saying that the best defense is an aggressive offense. A workable strategy for surviving the repeated onslaughts of elusive, irregular forces is perhaps contained in the dictum, being unconquerable lies within yourself. Being conquerable lies with the enemy. Thus, one who excels in warfare is able to make himself unconquerable, but cannot necessarily cause the enemy to be conquerable. As previously asserted, substantial forces should therefore be avoided, or at least well prepared for. Adopting an unconquerable posture is premised upon military combats being an art or science rather than a blind exercise in valor, in accord with the assessment procedures already outlined. Measurement and estimation are required in every situation so that appropriate force levels can be correlated with the enemy's strength, the topography, and the immediate objectives. Moreover, the terrain's configuration constraints the tactical possibilities and predisposes the ground to certain modes of action and methods of exploitation. Accordingly, measurement refers not just to the terrain expanse, but also to its tactical classification. Estimation encompasses the types of component forces, troop levels, and quantities of provisions and materials required to sustain a campaign or battle. Because topography is a critical concept in early Chinese thought, subsequent chapters describe the features and articulate the tactical possibilities of numerous categories of terrain. Although astutely exploiting the topographical advantages and adopting the strongly fortified defense, thereby forcing opponents to mount foolhardy attacks, to fight first and then seek victory, make it possible to avoid defeat and extinction. They do not guarantee that the enemy can be vanquished. Commanders should employ appropriate measures to manipulate and debilitate the opponents, but equally important are command and control techniques that fully realize the army's potential and utilize advantageous terrain to simply overwhelm the enemy with strategic power. The concept of strategic power, explicated at length in upcoming sections, combines raw power with positional and other combat multipliers, ensuing that the army cannot escape the circumstances of their fate. Then, at the appropriate moment, the victorious army will be like a ton compared with an ounce. The combat of the victorious, like the sudden release of a pent-up torrent down 1,000-fathom gorge, and no opportunity to defeat the enemy will be lost. Finally, although the chapter sets a rigorous tone, a certain esotericism marks the commander's unfathomable wisdom and strategy. Once achieved, his victories seem ordinary, but only because his acumen, operational tactics, preliminary preparations and manipulation of the enemy all combine to create the possibility of victory and make their conquest inevitable.